Cam found out that group chats between different phones aren't private.
Or encrypted. Thank you. We only text in code.
Yes, which I created. I created a code.
Yes. Which can be a little annoying.
Wait, was that your attempt at the code?
You already forgot the code, didn't you?
I should have written it down.
The place to safely send messages between different devices. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Judge Jeanine Pirro.
She's the outspoken host. Judge Jeanine Pirro is dominating the headlines right now.
This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Well, it is Sunday morning, and welcome to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. I hope everybody's enjoying their day so far. I know that I am. You know, I love the summer. I love the sunshine. I am convinced I suffer from the sad that whatever that disease is that you get depressed when the sun's not out. I don't have a professional diagnosis, but I've self-diagnosed. In any event, I'm thrilled that it's summer and it's sunny. And I am armed and ready to serve justice with all my great listeners here on the Red Apple Audio Network. Whoa, what a week, what a week, what a week. The debate. Okay, two things. Number one, it was a disaster. Number two, Joe's got to go. I got to tell you, I am so angry that the Democrats and the mainstream media in cahoots tried to protect Joe Biden and prevent the American people from finding out exactly what Joe Biden is all about, what he's doing, what he's capable of, and what he's incapable of. But we found out at the debate. From the moment he walked on the stage, Joe Biden was mumbling to himself. He looked like a corpse. He looked like a man who was not there. Nobody was home. And as soon as he opened his mouth, it was a done deal. Nobody was home. He stumbled. He mumbled. His thoughts, I think it was minute 12 or 13 into the debate, when you couldn't even understand where he was going. He didn't know where he was going. And to Trump's credit, Trump just said, I don't understand what he said, and I don't think he understood what he said. And my kudos goes to Donald Trump. He didn't take any bait. He didn't even look at Joe. He talked to the American people while Joe Biden was a disaster. And it was so bad that you had to say to yourself, why have they allowed this to continue? Why did they allow this man to insist that he run for office for another 4 years? Why? The man is incapable of making decisions. He is incapable of meeting on the level of a Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un or Putin. I mean, they're laughing at us. Trump is right. They're laughing at us. But for years, they tried to cover Joe, and they couldn't cover him. And last night, even the Democrats, Thursday night, even the Democrats tore him down. Even CNN went after him. There is wide panic in the Democrat Party. This is bad, folks. It was horrible. This is the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party, the mainstream media telling us everything is fine with Joe. Everything's not fine with Joe. He's not even home. And going forward, I can't wait to hear what they're going to do. They've been coming and covering for him for years because they want to maintain power. They've been able to hide him. And you know what? Joe Biden talked about Donald Trump calling servicemen suckers and losers, which Donald Trump denied, and which nobody believes because Donald Trump loves veterans. But the suckers and losers are us. They pulled a con on us. They pulled a fraud on us. Joe Biden has committed crimes against America. And that's what we saw out in the open. That's what a lot of us thought, but they kept covering for him. So today we're going to get to these topics and what the Democrats are going to do. We're going to break it all down for you. I'm going to be speaking with former White House Press Secretary Hogan Gidley, and then I'll be joined by former Chief Counsel for Nominations for the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, Mike Davis. What are the Democrats going to do? How bad was it? It's all coming up in just a few minutes here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. And never forget, that's the commitment we made on 9/11. Honor it by donating $11 a month to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Now, it's time for Protecting Your Investments, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's Judge Jeanine.
Hi, I'm Jeanine Pirro, and I've been talking about the disastrous debate performance and the fact that Americans are not being protected by this president. He is incapable of protecting us, of protecting the economy. The inflation is out of control. The border is out of control. Americans need to be protected. But now it's time to protect your investment, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group.
It's the Judge Jeanine Show.
This is Greg Kelly for Priority Gold. What does it mean to be America's precious metals dealer? It means that you're in touch with the hearts and minds of those who love this country, value our freedom, and want to protect the future. Priority Gold is that precious metals dealer. They've helped thousands of Americans back their retirement with solid gold and silver. Call Priority Gold at 888-506-6439. Receive free shipping, free storage, a free investment guide, and one of the best purchase experiences in the industry. Call now or go to PriorityGold.com.
Hi, it's Lou Dobbs for Priority Gold, America's precious metals dealer. These are volatile times with high inflation, soaring debt, wars on multiple continents, and rising financial stress. Central banks are buying gold to diversify their reserves, so are many Americans. Call Priority Gold and find out how precious metals can help you diversify your portfolio. They're highly rated and happy to help. Call 1-866-303-6357 or get a free gold guide at PriorityGoldGuide.com. That's PriorityGoldGuide.com.
Ask your doctor about Air Supra, albuterol budesonide. Eligible patients can pay as little as $0 per inhaler, subject to eligibility rules and maximum savings limits. Restrictions may apply. Visit airsuprasavings.com to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Vonage. Have you figured out how to build more engaging customer and employee experiences while growing your bottom line? It's easier than you think. Vonage Fusion brings together your contact center, business communications, and CRM to streamline internal collaboration and improve overall customer experience. Learn more about the benefits of customer and employee communications in perfect harmony at Vonage.com.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Joining us now is former White House Press Secretary Hogan Gidley. Please join me in welcoming him to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. All right, Hogan, I know it's a couple days since the debate, but I have to tell you, I'm still a bit fired up. I'd like to get your take on the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Judge, I don't even know where to start. This was one of the most horrific performances I've ever seen by a candidate at any level. No cheap fakes. This was flat out Joe Biden behind a podium. And here's the thing, the whole thing, him and by him, his network, his rules, his Hollywood-style setup they talked about at Camp David, his 16 camp counselors that were training him, the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the political experts. They had zingers ready for him. They had attempts, one-liners to go Donald Trump into fighting on a nasty, dirty level. They told him, hey, don't even talk about your record because, you know, it's not that good. Everything was set up for Joe Biden, and they inadvertently raised the bar for him, did the Democrats, because they leaked all the things they were doing to show how great Joe Biden was. And within 2 seconds, you realize this was a shell of a man who has no business being president of the United States. I don't want to be hyperbolic. I don't want to be over the top. I am telling you what the American people saw last night was someone who doesn't have it. He is not there. It was terrifying.
Well, I got to tell you, Hogan, obviously, you know how I feel. I think that your term shell of a man pretty much it captures what we watched last night. And the idea that this man is in charge of the greatest nation on earth, that he is making decisions while there are two wars going on that could catapult into World War III is frightening beyond anything I can imagine, given the nuclear armaments that are out there. Plus, the idea that this is a man who just doesn't get the fact that, we are being invaded and is just, the man is clueless. And I think the craziest part of the whole thing was when he started talking about, I think it was Medicare, with taxes, and he ends up with Medicare, and he starts talking about COVID. The man's train of thought, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm angry. I have to tell you, I am angry, Hogan, because the Democrats have known this for years. They knew it when he ran 4 years ago. That's why it was the basement campaign. That's why it was, we can't have any crowds around. They have covered this up for years. And I think that when you saw Jill Biden after this debate and she was rallying up the folks and she had her arms waving and she had the microphone in her hand and Joe's going to do it. He's going to do it. This woman, as far as I'm concerned, is evil. This man should go ahead.
Yeah, you think the media knew it, right? You think the Democrats knew it. Jill Biden knew it first and foremost. I mean, my goodness gracious, she's with him every day. She knows how frail he is, how incompetent he is. But again, it's not just that he's bad physically. It's not just that he's mentally in decline. He's also incompetent. His policies have ruined this country, have led to the deaths of young girls and women. Talk about an all-out assault on women, letting in illegal aliens to rape and kill our people in this country. Insane. Listen, debates are really about creating moments, okay? Building that moment into momentum, the momentum into a movement, ultimately using that to win an election. Here are the top three, in my opinion. 13 minutes in, Biden lost his train of thought mid-answer.
Right.
Brutal. Biden, number two was he mumbled and slurred these words at the end of a sentence, and Trump just said he didn't understand what Biden even said.
And neither
said,
did
I don't
Joe.
even know if he knows. I don't even know if he knows what he said either. And lastly, Biden said in that debate that inflation hurts the black community. Trump leaned in and said, "You caused the inflation, Joe." Mm-hmm. It was a systematic takedown of somebody, and the offensive nature. For out of the gate, Joe Biden to say, and no soldier has died on my watch. Right. How dare you? Those 13 Americans in Afghanistan with your botched pullout, when you blame the generals saying no one told me that was going to happen, and then the generals came out and said, no, we gave you all the plans. We told you that was going to happen. Americans are dead. How dare you dishonor the memories of those soldiers? How dare you dishonor the memories for the people who are still living?
The families
lived through that sacrifice, the families, the loved ones. Unbelievable. And lastly, one of the things I like to point out, talk about your deplorable, irredeemable moment. When the question was basically some version of, if people don't, support you and you think they vote for Trump, are they a threat? Yeah. They don't like democracy? And Joe Biden says, yeah, that's right. First of all, the definition of democracy is when a majority of the people vote for someone and then that person gets elected. I mean, the whole thing was an abject failure. And that's why you see the media running and all jumping on the bandwagon saying, hey, basically what they notice is what we all notice. But here's the dirty little secret. What they're literally saying out loud that people need to understand, the media collectively, is, hey, man, we can't cover for you anymore. We've carried your water. We've covered for you now for decades, especially the last 4 years. Even we can't stoop so low as to cover for what we just saw.
Well, I think that even the Democrats are frightened right now, and a lot of them admitted it last night, which is kind of shocking. I should say the Thursday, which is kind of shocking to me, because right now there is a deep, wide panic in the party. Even the Democrats tore him down last night. They went after him. And, Jen Psaki, the most she could say was that this was not his best night. And Joy Reid starts covering for him, and she says, well, we know we went in with some deficits like a stutter. No, the man cannot go on. The man cannot run this country. And the question now is, what will the Democrats do? I mean, Joe Biden, he's going to continue to go out and campaign, and you can tell, Hogan, Gidley, from the way that Jill was rallying up the crowd afterwards, that they are not going to go quietly into the night. This is something that is extremely important to them. But now the mainstream media can't cover for them anymore. And the shame of it is that the mainstream media is the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. What do you think they're going to do?
Listen. The whole purpose of the Democrat Party is to gain and maintain political power. That's why you see them flooding our country with people who have no right to be here, so they can get them on the government dime and eventually have them vote for Democrats in perpetuity. The same thing applies with this presidential race. They don't care if they've got to throw him aside. They don't care if they've got to keep him in place, prop him up, and do more things at the local level and try and get governors to change the rules of the election at the last minute, or flood the agencies with money so that Joe Biden can use his agencies to register people to vote. They don't care what tactic they have to take. They just know today they thought they had a candidate that they could kind of, slide under the radar and do kind of that pseudo basement strategy with a couple of events here and there like they did in 2020. They realized they weren't going to be able to do that. So now they've got to figure out what they're going to do to maintain that political power, because they will not let it go. And you talked about going quietly. They're never going to do that. If we thought one debate was going to sink this man, you got another thing coming. There are all kinds of tricks up their sleeve they can do between now and November. Again, many eternities until November.
But you know what, Hogan, Gidley, I absolutely, I agree with you. But now that this is so in the open, now that the American public knows this man can't even finish a sentence, we've known it forever. And then Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, the job that you have, she says, when he's inside, when he's with us, we can't keep up with him. I mean, he's just got so much energy. And Jill says the same thing. They keep talking like this, but now they can't anymore, because now the governors and the senators who are going to be under that Joe Biden president at the top of the voting list, they're gonna say, we can't have this guy at the top of the ticket. We can't.
Yeah, but I guess what are they going to do? Because
they got to move him out.
Rid of him.
They
but
can.
If they try to get rid of him, Judge, then they put themselves in a box of their own making. If they don't pick Kamala and instead decide to go with Gavin Newsom, well, then you're a sexist and you're a racist and you're a bigot. Because we all know if you reject a black woman in any form or fashion, not on her merit, but just because of who she is by her identity, by the dent of her skin, then you're a racist, sexist, bigot. So how in the world would they jump over Kamala Harris?
I'll tell you how they do it. They get Sotomayor on the Supreme Court to move. I mean, the rumors are that she's not well. I mean, I don't know this, everybody. This is all stuff that's been reported. They get her to move and say, we're going to put Kamala on the Supreme Court. Okay, that's how they do it. Or they say, we're going to run Kamala for governor of California. You're right. They cannot run her. She's less popular than Joe Biden.
That's right. The only person less popular than Joe Biden.
Yeah, and so they simply, but you know what? I got to tell you, I really want to see the vice presidential debate. Her against any of the three, whether it's Vance, Rubio, or Burgum.
Anybody.
Yeah. Anybody. Hogan Gidley, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Have a great Sunday. Take care.
Thanks, Judge.
All right. And join the Tunnel to Towers Foundation on this mission to do good in honor of America's heroes. Donate $11 a month. You know what it is at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. And up next here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show, I will be speaking with former Chief Counsel for Nominations of the United States Senate Committee on the Judiciary, Mike Davis, coming up right here on the Red Apple Audio Network.
Skip the waiting room. TireRack.com offers convenient mobile tire installation in many areas. Simply shop TireRack.com for your next set of tires, and at checkout, choose Tire Rack Mobile Tire Installation. An expertly trained technician will arrive with your tires and install them on-site. At home, at the office, wherever you are. You'll spend less time waiting and more time doing the things you enjoy. Learn more at TireRack.com.
Welcome to the Flash Finds Podcast, the world's fastest podcast where we explore how Facebook can help you with the stuff you're into. I'm your host, Emma Rogue, and today I'm with creator and home decor guru, Julie Souza. Julie, what's your number one tip?
So if you're into home decor, I would suggest looking into Buy Nothing Facebook groups. It's a great way to explore your style, all for free.
Ooh, we love free stuff. Thanks, Julie. See you next time on the Flash Finds Podcast, all about discovering the stuff on Facebook you care about. Bye.
Whether you're making a delicious family meal or a post-workout snack, choose the farm-fresh taste of Eggland's Best Eggs. Only Eggland's best hens are fed their proprietary all-vegetarian feed. That's what makes their eggs more nutritious. With 10 times more vitamin E, 25% less saturated fat, and 6 times more vitamin D compared to ordinary eggs. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com to learn more.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Joining us now is the former Chief Counsel for Nominations, U.S. Senate Committee on the Judiciary, Mike Davis. Please join me in welcoming Mike to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Look, you all know Mike. You know I love him. You know he's really smart. That's enough. Now, Mike, I know it's Sunday, but I am still in shock from the debate. I mean, just hit me with your first thought.
Joe Biden is a disaster for Democrats, and he's always been a disaster. We've always known that. But I think the American people just found out at that last debate how utterly incompetent this guy is. Not only is he incompetent as a matter of policy, he's mentally incompetent, and this is if you're hearing it from the Democrats every day since this debate, they're looking for Plan B.
Yeah, well, you know, look, there was a lot of reaction the next day on Friday morning. I mean, even Peggy Noonan says this amounts to elder abuse, which I've been saying for 2 years now. And the New York Times calls for him to withdraw. You know, he mumbled his way through the whole thing. It was shocking. All of a sudden, the mainstream media is like, oh, we have a problem. Mike, you and I and everybody else knew we had a problem a long time ago. Why all of a sudden? How were they able to hide this from us?
Well, they were able to hide this in 2020 because they used COVID as their excuse. Joe Biden couldn't even fill his COVID circles. And remember, Judge, as you know, when you're the president of the United States, you're getting the best, most breakthrough medical care on the planet. The military will give you experimental drugs and experimental treatments. I mean, just imagine how bad this guy is. If that's the best performance Joe Biden had after he took a week off prior to this debate to prepare for this debate physically and mentally, and he was still that big of a disaster. I mean, we have a big problem here. This is so much bigger than partisan politics. Our president of the United States is not up to the job mentally and physically.
Well, and the sad part about it is that the mainstream media has covered it. They've covered it for years. I've been saying it for years. I've been, this whole idea that they wanted to protect this man shows you how the Democrats and the mainstream media are all about power. They don't care about us. But we have this guy, he walked out on stage, Mike Davis, and he looked like a corpse. It reminded me of the Nixon-Kennedy debate. Remember, Nixon was sweaty. He had a shadow on his face, and, Kennedy looked vibrant. It was the same. Joe Biden, as I understand it, had a lot of trouble even getting off the stage. And it's frightening what's going on and how they've prevented us from, finding out what's going on in the White House. He's so energetic when he's with us. We can't keep up with him. They lie. They don't care about us.
Yeah, and what the hell is Jill Biden doing here? She knows that her husband is not up to the job. She knows that her husband had her drug-addled son, Hunter, served as the bagman for tens of millions of dollars in foreign corruption from China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Romania, every trouble spot around the world, it seems had every Biden except for the granddaughter who they don't claim on their payroll. Joe knows that Joe Biden is corrupt. Jill knows that Joe Biden is not up to the job, and then she goes out there after that debate and leads him off the stage like a lost puppy, and then goes out there to the press and says that she's proud that essentially he can finish his sentences. How pathetic is Jill Biden?
Yeah, well, I've said for several years, Mike, that this woman is evil, that Joe Biden deserves the ability to go to the beach house and relax. And she is so desperate for power and all the accoutrements that come with it that she's not going to let that happen. They're going to make sure that they live the life of power and luxury that they could never live on a senator's salary. But Mike, one of the things that was so disturbing for me is that Trump was, talking about things, and Joe Biden then would come back and say specifically that people who voted for Donald Trump are a threat to democracy.
Yeah, I mean, how shocking is that? Is the sitting president of the United States is saying that half the country, his political opponents' supporters, are a threat to democracy because they don't want to vote for this guy who is a disaster as the president of the United States. It sounds like the only threat to democracy here is Joe Biden, because he does not want to face President Trump on November 5th, 2024. We saw last night why, because he's not up to the job. He can't even debate. He can't even keep his thought process together. So what does he do? He wants to save democracy by putting the leading presidential candidate in prison for the rest of his life. Give us a break.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what? I think that Trump delivered that message very clearly, Mike, when he said, what you've been doing is you've been spending your time indicting me because you know that you can't win. And, when he did that, it was pretty clear that, it made a lot of sense because he did it at exactly the right time in the debate when Joe couldn't explain or didn't finish his sentence, when Trump said, and that's why you keep indicting me. You can speak about. You've got to stop me. I thought that Trump was very smart in the way he handled the questions. Everything came back to the border. And it's kind of interesting because everything does spin from the border, whether it's inflation, the economy, crime, or the ability of Americans to have the country that they want. The minority community is suffering because of the illegal immigrants coming in. Women are suffering because of illegal immigrants coming in. I thought Trump was very smart in the way he just kept going back to it and pulling out all of the problems that are a result of the border.
Yeah, President Trump, obviously I'm a big Trump supporter, but I would say this, that was a masterful debate performance by President Trump. He was calm, cool, collected. in charge, substantive, smart. He was perfect in last night's debate. And Biden, on the other hand, was an utter disaster.
Yeah, he was frightened. It was frightening. And I fear that when we talk about the fact, and Trump made it clear, he said Putin didn't attack. There was no problem when I was president. And, when you were there, he went into Ukraine. And, the Middle East was at peace. And he's right. When Donald Trump was president, there was peace in the Middle East for like the first time in 2,000 years. And, and then Joe Biden comes in and all hell breaks loose because everybody knows he's not going to do anything. Everybody knows that he is inept. And everybody knows he's a man who's for sale, and that's the sad part. Mike, what do you think the Democrat Party is going to do now?
Well, you heard after the debate, and it continues several days after the debate, that they want to throw Biden overboard. The problem is that it's not exactly easy to do that because you can't just transfer the money between the campaigns and the candidates. Who do they bring in? Do they bring in Michelle Obama? Do they bring in Hillary Clinton? Do they bring in Gavin Newsom? And frankly, at this point, President Trump is unstoppable. It doesn't matter who they bring in. The American people see that the Biden economy is a disaster, and this Biden lawfare and election interference is Republican-ing, and people are outraged by it.
Yeah. You know what? The average American, and that's what's so sad about this, doesn't seem to be the person that Joe Biden or any of the Democrats or even the mainstream media are concerned about. And that is very disappointing. It really is. It's shocking to me. There's a certain naivete that I have. I want to believe that our president, was working on behalf of the American people for the betterment of us as opposed to for himself. And they keep trying to put that moniker on Donald Trump when the truth is the moniker is on Joe Biden. It's not about the American people. It's about him and his wife and his family. So going forward, if they can't transfer the money, what can happen at the convention? How would that occur?
Well, it could be a brokered convention. I would say to your last point, Judge, that, everyone pretends like Joe Biden is just, this good old man working for the betterment of our country. I think the bank statements of Joe Biden and every Biden except for the granddaughter, who they don't claim, tells a different story. They've taken over $20 million that House Oversight Chairman James Comer has been able to track down so far. Over $20 million from our worst enemies, Russia and China, along with many other countries in trouble spots around the world. And it is Joe Biden's corruption and his incompetence and his weakness that invites our enemies to exploit this, right? But there's no way in hell this would be happening under Donald Trump. President Obama put Vice President Biden in charge of Ukraine. Putin smelled Biden's corruption and weakness and took Crimea. We had 4 years of peace and prosperity under Trump. Biden's back. Putin wants the rest of Ukraine. $200 billion we're going to spend on Ukraine because of Biden's incompetence.
Yeah, and but let's talk about if he is at the top of the ticket. Everybody going down and below him on the ticket. The Democrats are panicked right now. How is it going to happen? You talk about a brokered convention, maybe bringing in Michelle Obama. Who knows? But Kamala Harris is not going to go quietly into the night.
Hopefully she doesn't, because as a Trump-supporting Republican conservative, I just want to sit back and eat popcorn now between now and November 5th, because I'll tell you what, Judge, I was watching CNN for the first time in a long time last night, and I thought I would hate it.
We all were.
And after the continued meltdown after this debate on last week, it's just unbelievable. I can't stop watching CNN over the last several days because they're melting down.
Yep. Well, you know what? What they're saying is the truth. They know he lost the debate. The Dems tore him down, calls for him to withdraw. They knew he mumbled and fumbled. Can you imagine Generation, Z saying, yeah, I'm going to vote for this guy. He's the guy that I want. Look, it is a sad, sad day for America, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous for all of us. It's not just the economy and inflation. It's about the fact that Americans are at risk right now with terrorists coming through the border, pedophiles, murderers, with the economy going to hell, with the minority community suffering. We can't have this anymore. And hopefully, just like Michael, and I know I'm rambling here for a second, but it was Donald Trump who told us 8 years ago that there's such a thing as fake news, and people were like, fake news, the media, what, fake news? And now we know that there are fake candidates. And as Hogan Gidley said a few minutes ago, he said Joe Biden is a shell of a man. And he's so right. I used to call him the Trojan horse. He was just that fake, who brought in all these progressives with him and unloaded them when he moved into the White House. But this is a very dangerous time. And their need for power is something that is dangerous for all of us.
Yeah, before Biden was the Obama Democrats' useful idiot, he's no longer useful, right? And so what do we have left? And I would say this election is a referendum on Joe Biden and his disastrous policies. He's opened this border. We have this Biden crime with rapes and kidnappings and murders and so many other violent crimes. We have interest rates that are so high that people can't afford to buy homes or cars. We have inflation so high that it's crushing real Americans and real America. And like you said, Judge, it's particularly crushing the minority community. Joe Biden is a disaster for all Americans, particularly African American and Hispanic Americans.
Yep. All right, Mike Davis, we look forward to having you on in the near future to see what the Democrats do and how they work this out. But we always love getting your opinion. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike Davis.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. And never forget, join the Tunnel to Towers Foundation on its mission to do good in honor of America's heroes. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T2T.org. And please do it. It doesn't mean that much to you, but it means the world to people who have given much for you. And up next here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show, I will gavel out with my closing argument. It's all coming up here on the Red Apple Audio Network.
This is the Judge Jeanine Show. This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Okay, now it's time for me to gavel out with my closing argument. If you want to know how crazy the climate change people are, take a listen to this. Denmark is going to start taxing livestock farmers for the greenhouse gases emitted by their cows, sheep, and pigs, starting in 2030. The first country in the world to do so, as it targets a major source of methane emissions, one of the most potent gases contributing to global warming. So that means that if your cow or your pig or your sheep pass gas, you have to pay a tax on it. I mean, are these people nuts? They so want to control us that the next step is you can't have cows or pigs or sheep, and you shouldn't be eating that meat anyway because these animals produce metric tons of methane emissions. And this is something that they feel is going to make the planet better. They're nuts, folks. That's the end of it. Don't even think about it. But they're going to come here. I'm telling you, they will. I don't know about you, but I'm so sick and tired of these climate protesters. So this week they stormed the 18th green during the final round of the PGA's Travelers Championship, leaving a powdery substance on the putting surface and delaying the event. And they had a sign that said, "No golf on a dead planet." Are these people stupid? Do they really think anyone gives a damn what they're saying? Storming the green as Scotty Scheffler was reportedly finishing up. But The PGA Tour went on. There was no damage to the green. And Scottie Scheffler won the tournament after a sudden death playoff. And people in the crowd, by the way, they were so disgusted. They were yelling, "Get out of here, you effers." Yep, that's what they were yelling, those sophisticated people who play golf and are so proper. They didn't like them climate change idiots. All right. Folks, what we saw this week was the veil stripped from the White House. The cover, the fraud, the lies that they have been telling us for years has been exposed. It was a fraud on the American people. It was a crime against America, which ironically is the book that I wrote. It was a crime against America to allow Joe Biden to run this country and hide him from the rest of us so that the Bidens could maintain power and money, so the progressives could get their agenda through, and so that we would not be able to get our dream, our security, our economy where it's supposed to be. And that's a real disappointment. You know, it sounds somewhat simple, and it is simple. Americans rely on government. The government is there to serve us. They are there based upon our putting them there. But what we've seen is as Hogan Gidley said, a shell of a man who is incapable of making decisions, who, by the way, got a week of preparation to talk about the job that he supposedly has been doing for the last 3.5 years. He failed, and he failed miserably. And it's time that the American people stood up and said, we're not going to take this anymore. You're not going to impose this fraud on us anymore. We're too important. But Joe Biden, and it's so funny, they say it's Donald Trump. Joe Biden is the one who puts himself ahead of America. Joe Biden is the one who thinks that he deserves another 4 terms. His wife, as you well know, I think very little of. She is the one who's pushing him. She is the one who said a couple of years ago that he was running again. And I remember the press went to him and he said, "Oh, she said that?" It's a sad, sad situation, folks. But we're out of time already, and I want to make sure that you join us right back here next week, same time and same place, because I think there's going to be a lot of breaking news this week. I think it's going to be fascinating what the Democrats do and how they maneuver out of this, who they bring in, what they do with Kamala. It's a mess. But I'm going to have a good day, and I hope that you do too.
Hi, it's Lou Dobbs for Priority Gold, America's precious metals dealer. These are volatile times with high inflation, soaring debt, wars on multiple continents, and rising financial stress. Central banks are buying gold to diversify their reserves, so are many Americans. Call Priority Gold and find out how precious metals can help you diversify your portfolio. They're highly rated and happy to help. Call 1-866-303-6357 or get a free gold guide at PriorityGoldGuide.com. That's PriorityGoldGuide.com.